everyone, welcome back. I was tagged by the neighbors to do a throwback tag, and I guess the throwback tag is just all about my childhood, just some questions and pictures and things I like to play with, stuff like that. So the first question is, what year were you born in? I was born in 1970, and that means I'm going to be 45 years old this summer, and that is a downer for me. Show some pictures of when you were a child. Okay, I'm going to show pictures of when I was probably 2 or 3 years old. Okay, the next question is, what TV shows did I watch? I'm going to take it way back into the 70s. I remember watching all of the Sid and Marty Krofft TV shows, like HR Pufnstuf, and it had Freddie the Talking Flute and Witchy Poo. Then I used to watch Wonderbug. That was only on for about a year. It was just about a junkyard dune buggy that ended up being able to talk and fly and stuff like that. Who could forget Land of the Lost with the dinosaurs and the sleigh stacks, however you say them. And then here's one that a lot of you, even like a lot of the older people, might not even remember. It's called Lidsville. It was about a kid who found an evil magician's magic hat, and he took it home, and then the hat it just grew into this huge hat in his room. And so the kid looks into the hat, and he falls into this other dimension full of weird puppets and things. It was so funny. Sigmund the Sea Monster, eh. And let's not forget Sesame Street. The 1970s Sesame Street is the best.
Now don't forget a loaf of bread, a container of milk, and a stick of butter. If you can't remember, I'll write it down for you.
That's okay, Mommy. I won't forget. I'll remember. A loaf of bread, a container of milk, and a stick of butter.
Next question. What did I want to be when I was a child? I wanted to be an astronaut. But then I realized later on in life you needed to have brains to be an astronaut. And so therefore, I was not an astronaut. And pretty much, I'm not anything right now. Show a video of when I was a child. Well, I don't have a video. When I was a child, everything was done on Super 8. And we did get it transferred to DVD, but I don't have it right now because when we moved, it never got unpacked, so it's packed away somewhere. My favorite toys to play with were Baby Alive. I had this Merlin, this electronic Merlin. It was like a hand game with batteries, and it was called Merlin. We had Coleco Telstar, and it played Pong on your TV. The game from Milton Bradley called Stay Alive. We had all the Fisher-Price toys. We had the skates and everything. And so now I'm going to show all the pictures of everything that I just spoke about. They're really fun. The next thing is read something I wrote in kindergarten. Well, I don't have anything right now that I have written in kindergarten. I may have something. It might be packed away. But I actually found this letter that I wrote in 1984, March 3rd. I was not yet 14. I was 13. And I wrote this letter to my mom because she made me eat food that I didn't want to eat. So here, and I took a picture of it. I will let my kids go anywhere they want and get to do anything they want and say to me anything they want because I will know how it felt not to do those things. I will let my kids eat anything they want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner except junk. They don't have to eat anything they don't like because I will know how it felt to get food crammed down my throat. I promise. Signed, Tracy, March 3rd, 1984. Okay, this next one is most embarrassing story as a child. When I was in probably 4th or 5th grade, I used to tend for a lady that just lived down the street from my school. Well, I wasn't feeling well, and I didn't have my house key with me. And so, because in those days I just walked home by myself and let myself in my house. But I forgot my key. And so I went to the lady's house that I used to babysit for because she was just down the street. And while I was there, well, since I was there, she asked me if I would watch her kids for a little bit while she ran some errands. And so I did. And so, this is gross, but it's so embarrassing. So I was tending 3 kids, and the littlest one was probably like 1.5, 2 years old. And he was in the bathroom on the toilet, using the bathroom. And I was in the bathroom looking at my hair or something, and I tooted, and I totally pooped my pants. It was diarrhea. And I had no idea that was going to happen. I had no idea that was even coming. And I was like, ah! And so I ran to the toilet, and that little kid was sitting on the toilet. And so I just picked him up, and I threw him off the toilet, and I plopped down, and I had the biggest mess on my hands. And I didn't know how to do laundry back then. I was in 4th or 5th grade. I didn't know how to do laundry. And so I was sobbing. I couldn't get a hold of my mom at work. And so I called my friend's mom to ask her, what should I do? How can I wash my clothes? And I was wearing corduroy pants. And so she told me to just fill the bathtub up with really hot water, pour some laundry detergent in, and wash my clothes that way, and then throw my clothes in the dryer, which I did know how to work a dryer. So I had to wash my clothes with my bare hands in the bathtub. So I did all that, threw them in the dryer, and the only thing I had to wear for underwear was the little girl's underwear that I was tending. And, she was like, I don't know, 7 years old. So her underwear was tiny. But I managed to squeeze my buns into her little teeny tiny underwear for the duration time of the dryer. And so, I'm tending the kids, I'm in my shirt, and I'm wearing her little tiny, tiny, tiny panties. And so we're all in the front room playing the piano. And I had told the little boy who was 1.5, 2 years old, whom I threw off the toilet, I said, okay, don't tell your mom and dad what happened. I will tell them. Don't tell them what happened. Because, you're a little kid and you're embarrassed. You don't want them to know you crapped your pants. So I wanted to tell them in my own way. And the kid's like, we won't tell. And so we're playing the piano, la 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 la. And the mom and dad came home early, and I wasn't expecting them. And so the front door opened, and I'm sitting there playing the piano in their little daughter's panties. So I flew off the piano bench and ran into the other room and just sat there. And the first thing out of the little boy's mouth was, Mommy, Daddy, Tracy pooped her pants. Tracy pooped her pants. Oh my gosh. I was sitting in the other room just I was so mad and so embarrassed. And so the mom came in and she sat down with me and I told her what happened and I was crying and she was so nice and she gave me a bathrobe to wear until my clothes dried and, and she took me home. So yeah, that was like one of the most embarrassing childhood stories I have. The next question is, name a funny thing I dressed up as for Halloween. It's not funny, but I do have a picture. It was just, I was a clown, and I was with my brother, and I think he was a dog. I was probably 5 or 6 years old in this picture. Since I have a picture, I'll just use that one. Okay, name 3 songs I liked as a child. I really liked Rainbow Connection from the Muppet movie, and I really liked Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. There was actually a movie made with the Bee Gees and Peter Frampton of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, and I loved that. I loved that movie, and I was so in love with Peter Frampton, you don't even know. And so I watched it all the time. We had cable TV when it had first come out, and so it was always on HBO. And so I watched this movie all the time. I was obsessed with it, and I wanted to marry Peter Frampton and have all of his babies. And I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11. And then I guess the third thing was I really liked Hey Good Looking, What You Got Cooking. I don't know, my dad used to listen to all the old-timey Western country music all the time when I was little. And I always remember Hey Good Looking. So, yeah, I guess that was one of my favorite songs growing up. How has the world changed since I was little? Everything has changed. I grew up with the rotary telephone on the wall with the 1,000-foot long boingy cord, and you could walk around the whole house on the phone, and that cord would stretch, and you'd get tangled up in it. It was awesome. We used to have 8 tracks, and your car, if you had an 8-track tape in your car, that thing was like a toaster in your dashboard. It was awesome. And then came cassette tapes, and then we got cell phones and caller ID, and now we have Skype, and we have computers. Computers rule the world. When I was in junior high in 1982, we had an assembly, and it was about computers and how important they were going to be in our future and how everything would be based off of a computer in life. And I was like, what are you talking about? I don't even know what a computer is. When's lunch? It was awesome. And they were totally right. Computers have taken over. We rode our bikes everywhere. We didn't have to worry about helmets. I never wore a helmet or pads when I fell off my bike. My brother never wore helmets, and to this day I don't wear a helmet if I ride a bike, which I never do, but I'm never going to wear no stinking helmet. We used to be able to sleep outside in the front yard. Nobody would kidnap us. Everything was grand, easy peasy for the most part, But yeah, the 70s were the best, and the 80s. The scariest thing that happened to me when I was a child, it was Christmas morning. I was in 3rd grade, and I lived across the street from a park. And my brother and I went to the park on Christmas Day. I had my brand new white tennis shoes on, and we were on a frozen pond. And we were just kicking this little piece of ice around. And so my brother kicked the ice out into the middle of the pond, and like a dumb bum, I went over there to get the ice, and I slowly walked out to the middle of the pond, and sure enough, crack. I fell right through the ice and right into the pond. And my brother was like, ah, and he had to save me. So he slowly crept out to the middle of the pond so that he wouldn't fall in, and he pulled me out, and I was freezing cold, but at least we were just right across the street from my house. And my brand new white tennis shoes that day turned a nice mossy green. That was the scariest thing I can remember as growing up because, you know, I thought I was going to drown in ice cold pond, which I probably could have touched the bottom of. I'm not sure. But back then I thought I was in a lake. You know how it is. Tell a funny story from when I was a kid. Well, when I was young, my friend and I, we were like 5th, 6th grade, actually 4th or 5th grade. We were flipping the bird to all the cars that drove by around my house. And because we were on the corner and then down the street was my house, and we were just sliding on some ice. It was in the winter time, and so we were like, la, you know, and acting like we were doing ballet and ice skating, but we were flipping the bird at the same time when all the cars drove by. And of course, my stepdad had to be one of those cars, and he busted us, and so I got in big trouble. But my friend was still able to sleep over that night, and I didn't get grounded or anything, but yeah. The one time I flip the bird, I get busted by my parents. The weirdest thing I've done as a child, and I still do it to this day, is I snag. My husband and my BFF and her husband, they all make fun of me because I snag. And when I say snag, if I get a hangnail or a piece of skin, like dried skin, chapped skin on my lip, I will snag. Like, I'll just sit and snag my thumbnail or my hangnail on something soft because I just like the way it feels. Or if I have a satin pillowcase or just something soft, I'll stick it up to my lips and I'll just be like, I'll just snag it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, my husband always says, oh, are you on the snagging wagon again? Because I'm always snagging. I'm either going like this or like this or like this. So yeah. Special items that I have from my childhood. And this is the last question. I actually have my front tooth. I accidentally knocked it out when I was a child, and it went all the way up. Well, I knocked it inside my head. We were jumping off, my brother and I were jumping off the piano bench, and I crashed into our couch, which had a wooden base. And so I hit this tooth straight up, and it went straight up into my gums. And so we had to go and get it pulled. So I have a picture of that. Yes, I've had that tooth ever since I was little. We're talking, I was like 5 years old. I don't know. And then I have 3 collector glasses, drinking glasses, and they're from 1976, and I believe my mom picked them up from Taco Bell every time we went. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're from Taco Bell. And I think we had more, but of course they've either been broken or lost. So I will show you the ones that I have. All right, there you have it. I've narrowed this video down to about 20 minutes or more. So I tag anyone who wants to do this. It is super fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching this video and seeing all the awesome old-fashioned pictures from my past. Thanks everyone. Bye.